Hello, hello, hello. This is the Eddie and Easy Show. I'm Eddie.
I'm Easy.
And we have exciting games for you today. I mean, it's down to the Final Four, man. All of the pretenders have been slipped out. No more fakers. No more, pretenders. Now we have the real deal. The Final Four. This is exciting. So let's get started. So we wanted to start it off a little bit different. We're going to talk about who we think the key players to both teams will be in this game. We're going to start off with Easy's pick of who we think the key players will be. And so you said Aaron Rodgers and you said Marshawn Lynch. And why did you say those two guys?
Aaron Rodgers, we know that he has a calf injury, and if he's able to play well, I think that will be the key point. Even if Eddie Lacy isn't playing as well, you still need Eddie Lacy, but if you have Aaron Rodgers playing well, I think that's going to make the key difference.
Well, you don't like for this turn to be you, but it's A-Rod,
No, Alex Rodriguez is the only A-Rod.
It's A-Rod. So if he's on, then Green Bay is clicking on all cylinders. He's
Yeah.
I guess you're saying that he's the guy that makes it all go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now you pick Marshawn Lynch for Seattle. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think you can elaborate. I know why you did, but you can elaborate.
Russell Wilson, he's the engine of he's the rotor of the Seattle offense, but Marshawn Lynch is the engine.
Yeah.
And I think that, Russell Wilson, you need him, but I think that the key difference is Marshawn Lynch, and with Marshawn Lynch playing well, it's gonna wear out that defense, and then Russell Wilson can come in and start throwing the passes.
Okay, all right. So those are your key players of the game. Here are my key players of the game. I picked Russell Wilson, and I picked Eddie Lacy. I picked Russell Wilson because the all-time leader in passing rate in the playoffs, it's not Tom Brady, It's not Peyton Manning. It's not Drew Brees. It's not Brett Favre. It's not Dan Marino. It's not all those guys who we look at as being the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. It's Russell Wilson. This guy has the highest passing rating in playoff history out of any quarterback. So Russell Wilson is definitely the guy you want to key on. I think that what Green Bay is going to do, they're going to stack the box. They're going to try to, they're going to try to make Eddie Lacy beat them. Marshawn Lynch beat them. And so I think it's going to be on Russell Wilson's shoulders all the more today. And I think he can handle it. He's the reigning Super Bowl champion for Pete's sake. So I think Russell Wilson gets the job done today. I do. I see him as different than what we would call the running quarterbacks. He's a scrambler. Russell Wilson's eyes are always downfield, even when he's running around. And if he needs to run and pick up the yards, he'll do it. And guess what? In this game, he's the only quarterback that's not hurt. So I see Russell Wilson really playing a good game today. I really do. Now, on the other side, I see Eddie Lacy being the key because Aaron Rodgers is injured. They're going to try to put the burden on Eddie Lacy to try to get the job done. Because when you look at it, one of the things that you can do, maybe not to great effect, but good enough, you can run on Seattle. Seattle has proven over the years that a running back can go off on them. He can get his yards. So I think that they use Eddie Lacy to try to set up and take the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers to where he can do his thing on a limited basis, and they'll think that'll be enough to get it done. So my players of the game, Russell Wilson, Eddie Lacy. So now we get to the fun part where we get to break down the positions of the two teams. So let's go. So you see beforehand who we have picked, as to who we think are the better quarterbacks. Now it's funny, you pick Aaron Rodgers as being the key to the game for the Green Bay Packers, but you gave the edge to Russell Wilson at quarterback in this game. Why did you do that?
I think that Russell Wilson is an overall better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. I know that it's going to come back to me, what I said about Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, that whole thing.
Yeah. It will, probably. There'll be people talking, yeah.
But I overall think that he's a better quarterback. I said that before when they first played in the first week, and I still think that he's overall the best quarterback. And I think that he has more poise and he has more mobility.
Yeah. Well, I can't, get on. I picked Russell Wilson, too, in this game. I mean, I look at him, like I said, he's different than what we would call, there are people who will call him a running quarterback. He's not. Russell Wilson has the escapability. Unlike people say, well, I think Aaron Rodgers has more escapability. No, he doesn't. Russell Wilson scrambles he's like the second coming of Franz Harkington. But his eyes are always down the field. He is a good decision maker. He doesn't throw. They don't ask Russell Wilson to throw a lot of passes. So when he throws, he's pretty much accurate when he throws. So I look at Russell Wilson as being the difference maker in this game, and therefore I give Seattle the edge when it comes to quarterback. Now we come to running back, and I'll talk first about why I picked Seattle. Seattle has Marshawn Lynch, and that to me trumps backfields that may have 2 or 3 good running backs, because Marshawn Lynch is a difference maker at running back like few running backs are. And it's not just his ability to run, his ability to get those tough yards, his ability, as big as he is, to weave in traffic. It's not just that, but the crowd feeds off his running. He gets in the game, and it's like you see a difference in the team.
Him and the crowd. Yeah, the whole team. Everybody feeds off of his performance. He
has a relationship, and for a guy who doesn't talk a whole lot, he has a relationship with the fans in Seattle, and his running like something I haven't seen a whole lot of. I saw it in the 80s with Earl Campbell in Houston, with the Houston Oilers. I saw pieces of that in Chicago with Walter Payton. But this is a different level. I'm sorry, it's just a different level when you see Marshawn Lynch run that ball and that crowd get into it when he runs the ball.
Like you said, all of them feed off of his energy and his running ability. The team, the crowd, even the coaches and the staff.
Right, exactly.
The whole team feeds off of
that. Yeah, exactly.
And when Marshawn Lynch sees that, he also feeds off of it too.
Exactly.
And so it's a win-win.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know about how he's gonna. I hope that he doesn't get suspended because of those gold cleats.
Oh goodness! That's to me that NFL no fun leagues. I get it.
Those look really good. But to get back to the point. I think that he's just over. He's just going to wear that Green Bay Packers defense out.
Yeah.
And then Russell Wilson, he'll just come back. If you're not dealing with Russell Wilson, you're dealing with Marshawn Lynch. And when you're not dealing with Marshawn Lynch, you're dealing with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And then the defense.
Yeah. Well, we're not there yet.
I know.
We're not there yet.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah. Okay, so now we come to wide receiver and tight end. We both picked Green Bay. I'm always interested in what you have to say because this is the Eddie and Easy show. So I'm always interested in what you have to say. So why did you give the nod to Green Bay when it comes to wide receivers and tight end? Duh. Yeah. Why do we give the nod to the wide receivers and tight ends for Green Bay?
I think that even though that Seattle, they have good receivers, but they're not as good.
No.
When they lost Golden Tate, that was their main wide receiver.
Yeah.
And
Carson, the other guys are picking it up, but
I know, but still, that's their main receiver.
Yeah.
And but with Green Bay, you have scoreless. He's not as recognized as the other tight ends in the league, such as Zach Miller, Rob Gronkowski, and so forth. But he's still a pretty good player. But you have Jordy Nelson, that security blanket.
Well, Randall Cobb.
And Randall, I was going to get there.
Yeah.
I was going to get there. And Randall Cobb, he's fast.
Yeah.
And he can get those. He gets yards after catch very easily.
Who is it? They got a new kid who really shredded the Cowboys last week, and I can't remember his name.
Boykin?
No, it wasn't Jared Boykin. It was somebody else, and I don't know why for the life of me I can't remember the kid's name. But they also have some young blood, and Boykin is one, but the other guy is who I'm talking about, who really did an expert job of shredding that Dallas Cowboys defense when they needed it in the game. I look at the wide receivers and tight ends of the Green Bay Packers as being one of the top in the league. Now, it's kind of funny that we had the same conversation last year during the Super Bowl when, the wide receivers for the Seattle Seahawks was getting, kind of dogged because, well, they're not as good as the Broncos, Decker and Denarius and Julius and those guys. And so now we're having the same conversation. Well, they're not as good as Green Bay. I think that, although I picked Green Bay too, I think you're going to see a chip on their shoulders, wanting to show that, look, we can be just as good as any group of guys in the league. I don't happen to think so, and neither do you. So we go to the next thing, which is the offensive line. And here's the thing. I picked Seattle over Green Bay because there's a reason why Aaron Rodgers now has a calf injury. He got hit a lot. He got hit a lot in that game. So there are things they're still trying to work out in that Green Bay offensive line. Seattle's, because you even look at Eddie Lacy, he's not running like he used to. I mean, he got some yards late in that game. But for the most part, the Dallas Cowboys had him bottled up most of the game. So when I look at this, I look at the offensive line of Seattle Seahawks, their ability to get those holes for Marshawn Lynch, and their ability to get some, pretty good blocking for Russell Wilson to find those guys downfield when he has to. So I look at the offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks being a little bit better. Well, let me change that. Being a lot better than the Green Bay Packers offensive line. How do you see it?
Even though they had some troubles last week with Max Unger, with the ball handling, and
right?
Because that's the first time that he's been there since week 11. But the other line,
the linemen, yeah,
it's like a brick wall.
Yeah,
trying to get through them, and I don't think that Green Bay's defensive line is good enough to get past that.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of defensive line, we go to the defense. All right. So we both picked the D line of the Seattle Seahawks, and I picked the D line of Seattle Seahawks because it's probably Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, do an expert job of rotating those guys on that D line. They bring them in, they rotate them, spit the names out. We have who? On the D-line. Seattle's D-line.
Cliff Averill, Bruce Irvin,
Michael Bennett,
Tony McDaniel, Donald Ruther.
Yeah, so they do Brendan Mebane. Yeah, so they do a good job of rotating these guys. Yeah. And it's like a track field out there. They will get them in, okay, rotate them. And they keep their guys fresh. They do a good job of making sure that they have the right matchups. That defensive line of the Seattle Seahawks is formidable. The Green Bay Packers D-line hasn't played with a particular edge this season. I just haven't seen that. So we both gave the edge to the D-line of the Seattle Seahawks. Now we come to the linebackers, right? And so we come to the linebackers, and it wasn't an easy choice because I believe that Wagner and those guys on defense, the linebackers for the Seattle Seahawks, are pretty good. Matter of fact, they're Pro Bowl good. So, but I gave the slight edge to the Green Bay Packers because they got the bloodline. Okay, they got Clay Matthews back there. And switching, Julius Peppers at this stage in his career, switching him to linebacker was genius. I mean, I figured, honestly, because he was in Chicago, last season, I figured, okay, we've seen the best days of Julius Peppers are behind him. He has had some dominant performances throughout this season. He's shown that between, we got Jared Allen with the Bears, and we said, okay, we got the better player now. Well, Julius Peppers outplayed, Jared Allen this year. Okay. And he's played great football. So, and they put him at the linebacker position. You figure, linebacker, we putting this old guy at linebacker position. He still has some speed. I mean, he's freakishly athletic for a guy his size. So, I give the slight edge to Green Bay, not just because of the players, but because I think I like their scheme at linebacker a little bit better too. So, that's why. All right. So, and you pick Green Bay as well too, because
I had that gut feeling. I mean, when you look at it, I see that in my opinion, that Seattle is a better defense. I mean, they swarm to the ball.
Right, so like fast. No other team does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the film. I mean, there were like 5 blue jerseys on and Mike Tolbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just had that gut feeling, and my first instinct was Green Bay, and since I got 1-3 last week, I do not want to.
All right, so now we come to DBs. You take it from here, man. Take it. Why did we pick Seattle at the DB position?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, it was spur of a moment.
Yeah, we just put it out of thin air, didn't we?
They're not that really good of a team.
Yeah, I mean, on defense, they need work at defensive back, Seattle does.
Especially physicality.
And
they need bigger cornerbacks.
Yeah, they need much bigger cornerbacks.
And they need more aggressive safeties.
Yeah, more aggressive. Yeah, Cam Chancellor and that boy Earl Thomas, he's not getting it done. Not. These guys are the best in football. Probably you can put that defensive backfield as being one of the best in NFL history. I'm saying it. I'm going on the record of saying that. There's no comparison to that backfield and any other. The closest you can come to it is probably the Carolina Cardinals defensive back. Not the Carolina. Goodness, I missed 2 teams up. The Arizona Cardinals backfield. That's the closest I've come, and they're not even close, but that's the closest you can come to it. This defensive backfield, you can't put them in the same sentence as other defensive backfields in the NFL right now. Cam Chancellor, the game last week against the Panthers, did he not play a stellar game? I mean, he was always good, but he really put his name on the map last week. I mean, it's just a dominant defensive backfield. And that's what's going to be a wonderful matchup. Those Green Bay receivers against the Seattle Seahawks DBs. But what did we see in the Super Bowl last year? Those Broncos receivers against that defensive backfield. And who won that matchup? Seattle did. So, there you have it. Now, this is one of the few times we disagree. You picked the Seattle Seahawks special teams. I picked the Green Bay Packers special teams. Why is that, son?
I mean, like I said with the defense, their special teams is fast also. And they got, I'm not looking at like the kickers, Steven Hauschka. I mean, he's really good, and so is John Ryan.
Right.
But I'm not looking at returners. I'm looking at like the gunners and stuff like that.
You're looking at coverage as well.
Those aren't one of the best. Except 49ers and those teams.
Right.
That did not make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. I picked Green Bay and special teams because I am looking at the returns. I'm looking at Randall Cobb being anything better than what Seattle has, and that can generate points, especially in these crucial games. And these teams in the playoffs, every edge counts. And yeah, coverage counts for a great deal. But they don't have Percy Harvin this year, which was he was a difference maker in the playoffs last year. When it came to returning that football, Percy Harvin was. And so even when he didn't have the ball, just trying to kick the ball away from him caused problems for other teams. They don't have that element this year. So I think they lose a significant amount of edge in the special teams department when you don't have a dangerous returner like a Percy Harvin. But Green Bay does have that in Randall Cobb. So I gave it a slight edge to Green Bay. But I see your point. Those gunners and that just as fast as the other team, as the other parts of the team is, the special teams is as well. All right. So now we move on to the game we have on tap, and we're going to talk about the key players that I picked first this time. The key players of the game for between the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm really glad that you got a gift of Tom Brady against the Broncos.
So, this is Tom Brady's domain. Playoffs is what Tom Brady lives for. And he's breaking all the playoff records right now. Most passing yards. He passed Joe Montana last week. Sorry about that. He passed Joe Montana last because he did it against, he passed Joe Montana last week.
We will not talk about that game.
The game that shall not be named. Okay. So he passed Joe Montana last week. I believe he has more wins in the playoffs than any quarterback in the Super Bowl era. This is Tom Brady's domain. And I believe that the Patriots are clicking just enough for Tom Brady to win another game today. So I pick him as a player of the game. Number one, because it's Tom Brady. Number two, we live in a quarterback-driven league. I keep saying that. We live and we are in a quarterback-driven league. If the quarterback goes, there goes your team. As much as people won't like to hear that, there it is. And so I picked Andrew Luck pretty much for the same reason. He carries that team on his shoulders. They have a great defense. Chuck Pagano has done a great job with that defense. But this team will live or die with how Andrew Luck plays. They sink or swim on Andrew Luck's arms and legs. That's just how it works.
And Dan,
so, yeah.
Want to hear some trivia?
What's the trivia?
Out of 3 or 4 of the quarterbacks, they are wearing number 12.
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah. Exactly.
Except Russell Wilson.
Exactly. So they sink or swim on the arm and the legs of Andrew Luck. And I have to throw out this statistic again because it's important. Andrew Luck has turned the ball over at the quarterback position more than any quarterback in the NFL other than Jay Cutler. Okay? He has turned the ball. He can be a turnover machine. He was last week. They were able to overcome those turnovers, but, he did it last week. So I'm not thinking that it's going to shape out that way this week. But Andrew Luck is the player of the game for me. Oh, my lucky stars, you picked the same players. Go ahead.
Tom Brady, just more experience and probably one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He that's where he plays the best.
Mm-hmm.
And but with Andrew Luck, he's going to need to play well because I looked at the tape. There were so many
mental mistakes and errors. Yeah.
And Bill Belichick will rip that team apart.
Oh yeah. Oh, give Belichick a week to play to. He eats young quarterbacks alive. Yeah, just does.
It's like the Minotaur in Greek mythology.
So yeah,
eating young quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so here we go. Let's break this down. We both picked Tom Brady, the quarterback position for the New England Patriots. Yeah, okay. It's Tom Brady and it's Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck will probably, if he keeps improving, will be one of the greatest quarterbacks. If he doesn't, if he escapes injury, and if he keeps improving, his name will be mentioned in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. But it ain't gonna be this week. So what we have here is a situation, kid, where it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady wins this one hands down. New England wins this one hands down. It's just that simple. Do we need to say any more than that?
No.
Okay, so we move on to running back. Well, we both picked the Indianapolis Colts because New England doesn't have much of a running game. I mean, their short passing game is their running game. So running backs are like, pretty much, you can hang around, you ain't much good to us, but you can hang around. And the value of the running back in New England is, can you catch the ball? Mm-hmm. No, it's not whether you can run it or not. So, yeah, I gave the edge to the Colts. You give me your insights on this, why you did.
I think that even though Daniel Herron can be like a broken light sometimes.
Boom!
Yep.
Herron. Yeah.
But I mean, when he's on, it's almost hard. It's so hard to stop him.
Yeah.
And he's a great running back out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a power runner.
Yeah. Which can help loosen up that New England defense. You get a power run in there. Now we come to the wide receiver and tight end position. Need we say, they got A.Y. Hilton.
T.Y.
Well, T.Y., excuse me, A.Y. T.Y. Hilton. And they have, Reggie Wayne, who's getting a little long, and Kobe Fleener. They have, they're not shabby at that position at all. Hakeem Nicks. And he's playing well in the playoffs right now. So they're not shabby at the position themselves. But as a unit, that New England wide receiver tight end group plays better as a unit, as a whole. On Bill Belichick's team, you better play as a team. And that group plays as a team. They play as a unit. And so, you got Edelman, Amendola, Gronkowski. They have all these wonderful... And Vereen. They have all these wonderful pieces in that passing game that work as a unit. So, you got to give the edge to the New England Patriots. I think Gronkowski alone probably negates 3 of their guys because he's such a big target. He catches the difficult passes, and it's hard to bring that man down once he gets the ball. So, we give the edge to, at wide receiver and tight end, to the New England Patriots. Now we come to O-line. We have to mention that New England did play a game last week against a certain team. Mm-hmm. And that certain team got to Tom Brady quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Chuck Pagano used to be the defensive coordinator for who?
The Ravens.
Exactly. So he's built this Colt team a lot like that Raven team. So look for them to be able to do some of the same things that the Ravens were able to do against New England Patriots offensive line, which, is, they pieced it. They had a difficult time early in the year. Later in the year, they got better. But in that playoff game, it shows some of the deficiencies that line had earlier in the season. They've had injuries. They've traded light. They traded light. Their best guy at defensive line, offensive line.
Not Matt Light, Logan Mankins.
Logan Mankins. Yeah, Matt Light's retired. I'm getting like football Alzheimer's here.
This is one of the few times where I
you're correcting me. Yeah, I know. How do you feel?
I feel good.
How do you feel? Don't get used to it, but how do you feel?
I feel great.
Okay, good. I'm glad I could help. So I see that the Indianapolis Colts defense being able to do the same thing the same things now that the Ravens were able to do last week against the New England Patriots. I don't think it'll be enough, but I think they'll be able to do some of the same things. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So you gave the edge to the O-line of the Colts as well, too.
I think that it's a matter of who's worse right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that New England's worse.
Right. They have more deficiencies than the
Colts.
Than the Colts do at offensive line. So we side of the ball. Now we're on the defensive side of the ball, and we pick slightly differently.
I convinced Dan with my Corey ready.
I picked the Colts at D-line because I just think that Pagano has those guys playing better as a unit than the New England Patriots are playing as a unit. Let's think about this. Last week, it took a miracle. It took a miracle, a trick play, in order for the New England Patriots to win that game. Before that, could you honestly tell me that New England's defensive line wasn't getting dominated with the running game? They ran all over New England. The Ravens did. I got to say their name. They ran all over New England in that game. Now, Bill Belichick, who probably does it better than most, went in, made some adjustments. They corrected a little bit, but the Ravens were still able to run the ball. So, I didn't see that happening against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, when they played against the Bengals, who had a pretty good Giovanni Bernard. Who else was in that back heel? Was it Hill?
Jeremy Hill.
Yeah. Two good running backs. They didn't dominate that D-line. Then they played the Broncos last week. That running game didn't do much against them. So when you look at the two teams, D-line wise, I give the edge to the Indianapolis Colts. They've been playing better as a unit than, I would say, Vince Wilfork and those guys on the other side of New England. Make your case, kid.
Even though that New England did not their D-line did not do good against Baltimore's O-line was much better than Indianapolis's.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, once you get a subpar O-line, but I mean, like I said, it's a matter of who's worse in the O-line department.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're just going to take advantage of that. The same thing with Bill Belichick. He knows how to. He sees their flaws and he knows how to dissect them.
He knows how to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Well stated, Grasshopper. All right. So now we both pick linebackers, DBs, special teams for New England. Mm-hmm. So instead of going into this whole, it's all New England from this point on, as far as we're concerned. You look at linebackers. Is Mayo playing? Is he hurt? He's hurt. But Hightower and those guys have still done a good job. You know, they still done a good job at linebacker.
And Chandler Jones, I believe he's
like hybrid.
Yeah,
he's a hybrid. He's a DE/linebacker, like McGinnis was.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, they have the edge in my opinion at linebacker. Angerer, is a good linebacker for the Colts, but outside of him, who can you really name? That's playing well at the linebacker.
Oh, I know, Eric Walden.
Yeah. I mean, is he playing great or is he just playing good?
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's playing pretty good. All right, you get to DBs now with Darrelle Revis,
and Brandon Brown.
Now we're back to Revis Island. When he was with the Buccaneers, he was still overcoming that injury. Looks pretty good now. Although Steve Smith did, get him a couple of times real good last game.
But he's Steve Smith.
That's Steve Smith. He plays with that king-size, mountain-size chip on his shoulder. He's got to show up in those sort of games. So we're going to call that, a Revis Island special last week, okay? But you got Darrelle Revis, you have Brandon Browner, and, Chung is playing good football. I mean, he had left the New England Patriots and went to the Eagles, I believe, and then he came back. He's playing better than he did in his first stint with the New England Patriots. So the DB position is pretty set in New England. Now, you do have Vontae Davis on the Indianapolis Colts, who I think is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He has played outstanding in the playoffs. But I'm hard-pressed to think of what the rest of that backfield has done. So, I just don't, And now we come to special teams, right? Mm-hmm. I give the edge. Edelman, return guy. Amendola's, does some returns. Their coverage team's always good. Their kicking game is good, with New England. But can't sleep on Adam Vinatieri, who helped New England win those first 3 Super Bowls because they won by a field goal in each one of those on Adam Vinatieri's leg. So Adam Vinatieri comes to visit his old team that he helped win Super Bowls for with that booming foot, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
He's one of those few kickers that would say that he belongs into the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
But we're talking about overall, we're looking at the special teams of the New England Patriots being better. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Cover Spice.
All right. So now we come to that part where we make our picks for the game.
Hey, Mama.
My voice is getting kind of gravelly right now. We come to our picks of the game now. For the game, who will win the game? Yeah.
All right.
So now we have Seattle, New England, and you'll see on the Eddie and Easy show for the very first time, we have a new column here, and it says Lisa Marie. And for those of you who may be deaf or tone deaf, who can't hear what we're talking about, Lisa Marie is Ezekiel's mother and, oh, by the way, my wife. And so we've added her to the fun and added her to the mix of the Eddie and Easy show. And look, let me go back to say, I mean, no disregard or disrespect to people who happen to be hearing impaired. I meant tone deaf people who can hear, who are listening to the broadcast and heard us mention her various times and just doesn't get that she's part of the family. So that's who I'm talking to. So I want to be clear about that. I want to be extremely clear about that.
Speak, mother.
So we all picked Seattle and we all picked New England. Time will tell, and we will see if we were right or if we were wrong. All right? So that does it for the Eddie and Easy show. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Eddie.
I'm Easy.
And I'm Lisa Marie.
And we say goodbye.